Hi, in this session I will be discussing the role of Material Master in the integration with WM. Let us understand how to create or extend an existing material to WM and how the fields in the WM1 and WM2 view influence the processing of the material in the warehouse. Let's say I already have a material which does not have a WM1 and WM2 view. As you can see, in order to extend this material to the warehouse in a plant, we would need to create the WM1 and WM2 view in the Material Master. So for this we need to use the transaction MM01, give the material. I can use a reference if I want to as this, or I can make an independent creation of the view. So I'm going to just select WM1 and WM2 view in order to show you how to create. My plant is 1000, my warehouse is S01, and I will come back to the storage type in a few minutes. So let us go inside. So this is the WM1 view and this is the WM2 view. In the minimum, if we want to receive this material in a proper storage type, you need to specify the stock placement indicator and the stock removal indicator. So here I just specify 015 and as a placement and 015 as a stock removal. So what this indicator is going to control is how this material is going to be placed in what sequence, depending on the sequence that we have defined in our config. Then we have these different fields that are used to control different functioning of the material in the warehouse. We will be discussing this in another session with another material. We have the warehouse management to view, wherein we have the palletization data. If your material is going to be managed on pallets, or if you have storage unit management active in your warehouse, then you can specify the loading equipment quantity. This specifies the way in which your material is going to be handled in the warehouse. So you have three choices of specifying the loading equipment quantity. Next, if you are extending a material to a specific storage type under a warehouse, you will get an opportunity to specify the bin in the storage type in the additional fields that you will be visible. So let us try to see how it differs when you specify the storage type at which you want to extend the material to. So I will save this. I will once again now show you the material extension, and now we are going to do it at the storage type level so you can make out the difference. I will give the storage type 015. I am selecting the stock placement and the stock removal indicator as 015, and now let us see how this particular WM2 view differs from the earlier. So now we are specifying or extending the material at a storage type. When we are extending the material at a storage type level, we get an opportunity to specify the storage bin for this particular material. So whenever you are having a fixed bin scenario, you can specify the storage type and the storage bin into which this material is going to be put. Then we have all the other fields which we will be seeing in the next session. So this is how you typically would be extending the material to a warehouse. So I can specify a bin and save it. So this becomes a fixed bin for this material. Just at this time I won't specify the bin. I'll just save and come out. Now let us see the importance or the functionality of the different fields that are available in the WM1 and the WM2 view with a different material. So this is the warehouse management 1 view. Let us have a look at this in the system. We will focus on the important fields in the WM1 and WM2 view and their significance. So here we are in the material master. I have already extended a material, so I will show the same fields in the change view. But if you are extending the material, already existing material for the first time, you need to do it with the transaction MM01. So I have just extended it already. So let us go and check the fields in the WM1 and WM2 views. The org level that we're going to use for the warehouse management is the plant and the warehouse number. At this time, I will not use the org level storage type. I'll just show you when we go into the warehouse management 2 view how the view changes. So let us get into WM1 view. We can see we have the material number, the material description, the plant and the warehouse number at the org level. Let us understand the other fields that we need to maintain or which could be optional. So we have the base unit of measure, which is picked up from the basic data 1. We have the WM unit of measure. Now if you want to have your warehouse documents in a different unit of measure, then you can specify this WM unit of measure. By specifying the WM unit of measure, which needs to be different from the base unit of measure, all the documents that are created in the warehouse will carry the WM unit of measure regardless of what unit of measure is mentioned in the preceding documents, may it be the purchase order or the delivery. The unit of issue comes from the unit of issue that is maintained in the plant storage location data 1. If you want to specify a different unit of issue than that you have maintained the base unit of measure, then you can specify it over here. Typically it should flow from plant storage location data 1. So say for example, if you maintain a unit of issue pallets, PAL, so the system would ask you the conversion, of course, if you haven't maintained. So let us, in our example, let us take one pallet is equal to 10 pieces. I maintain the conversion. So this pallet is going to flow at this place. But if you want to override the unit of issue that you have maintained in the plant storage location data 1, you can very well do so. And you can maintain a different unit of measure over here. So say for example, if you want to maintain a different unit of measure carton, say the system would ask you what is the conversion, and you can say like 1 carton is equal to maybe 100 pieces. If you maintain the unit of measure over here, then it is going to also impact the unit of issue here as carton. So the point here is that although the data is maintained over here, but if you are extending a material to a warehouse and you maintain a different unit of issue, so this is going to be carried back and it is going to replace. So this unit of issue is going to superimpose itself on any other unit of issue that you have already maintained in the plant storage location data. 1. Propose unit of measure from material. This field indicates which unit of measure should be used in warehouse management in conjunction with the WM unit. This indicator could be set to unit of issue, which is defined in this material master, or the order unit, which comes from the preceding documents. For example, you will see the options available. Yes, so it could be defined as unit of issue or the order unit, or if you don't specify anything, it is going to use the base unit of measure. So these are the proposed unit of measures from material to be used in the warehouse. The picking storage type does not have any influence on the picking or selecting a storage type during the creation of a transfer order. So we want to discuss this in detail. This check would mean, the batch management check would mean that the material is managed in batches. The gross weight and the volume would come from the basic data that has been maintained in the basic data 1 view. The capacity usage is typically used whenever you are specifying a capacity check for a particular storage type. So the way to use this is that you have to specify how much capacity in percentage this material occupies in a particular bin. So let's say, for example, a capacity of a bin is 10 pieces, and this particular material occupies 1 piece of the storage bin. Then the 1 piece of this material would occupy 10%. So the capacity is, if this particular material goes in that bin, which has a capacity of 10 pieces, this is going to occupy 10% of the capacity. So you specify the number in percentage. Approval for batch records required. This indicator is used receiving or making usage decisions for batches that are received from goods receipt of a production order, or changing the restricted to unrestricted status of the batch. These kind of activities would need or require approval. The stock removal indicator influences the removal strategy, while the stock placement indicator influences the placement strategy. So basically, when we define a put away or a placement strategy or a removal strategy, we will be using these indicators to direct the system to find the required strategy for this particular material. The storage section indicator, if you are using a storage section search, or if you have divided a storage type and into different sections, and if you want this particular material to be away into a specific storage section, you can influence the storage section search by maintaining an indicator over here. The storage section indicator does not have an influence on picking of the material. Special movement indicator. This indicator is used to influence the put away process, and if we want to specify a specific way we want to put away a certain material by bypassing the standard way that the other materials is put away, we can use a special movement indicator. So the system, along with the combination of this material and the special movement indicator, would follow the specific settings that have been made for this special movement indicator. Two-step picking. If this material is subject to a two-step picking, we indicate it by maintaining the indicator in this specific box. It simply mentions whether this material is relevant for two-step picking or it isn't. if you are using this material to be stored, or if you want this material to be stored in a bulk storage type, then you maintain that indicator over here. This indicator is very decisive in identifying how this material is going to be stored in a bulk storage type, how many stacks this material can be stored in the bulk storage area. So this basically is a very decisive indicator, allowing us to specify how this material is exactly going to be stored in a bulk storage area. Message to the IAM is typically used in a decentralized warehouse management. This would cause the WM data to immediately flow to the IAM part, which is in a different box. Allow addition to existing stock would allow this material to be added to the same material that is already being put away in a bin. But this setting also requires that the storage type be allowing addition to existing stock. If that is not allowed, then this setting does not have a meaning. So basically it all depends on the storage type setting also. Let us now see the warehouse management two views and what fields do we have. So we still are at the org level, plant and warehouse number, and at this level we have only the palletization data, which is this is also called the loading equipment quantity. This basically means that you specify here what is the way that you are going to handle the material in. So for example, if you are going to handle the material on pallets, so you can specify, maybe say you have 10 pieces as the palletization quantity. You would specify this 10 pieces, and you have to define a storage unit type, which could be a pallet or maybe a P1. So let us see what options we have. Okay, I have industrial pallet over here, so I specify an IP over here. So what this means, what palletization data means, that whenever you have material coming in some specific quantity, it is going to divide that material into the loading equipment quantity. So for example, if you have 100 pieces of this material coming in, the system is automatically going to divide it into 10 pallets, because on each pallet you have 10 pieces, so 10 into 10, 100. So whenever you are creating such a transfer order, you would see 10 line items, and each line item been given a name or a number of a storage unit. So this setting is essential or especially important when you want to manage your storage type with the storage units activated. Also, you can use this to enable the storage bin type search, which uses the storage unit type. So if you specify a particular bin that could store this kind of material, then you can specify the combination of storage unit type IP with the bin type of your choice, and that way whenever the system is going to put away this material, it is going to find that specific combination, that specific bin into which this kind of a pallet fits in. And you have three choices or three options to provide the loading equipment quantity, and which could be done in different units. So if the first unit, if the order is in a different unit which is not available in any of this first unit of measure, then the system would look for if the palletization quantity or the palletization data is maintained in the second line item, and so on. Now once we have finished with the palletization data, we can go to the storage type org level. So this data can also be maintained at a storage type level. So once you maintain at a storage type level, you have additional storage bin stock data that could be maintained. So if you are maintaining this particular material in only one specific bin, a fixed bin, so you can specify the fixed bin in this place. So you can mention the bin number over here in that specific storage type. So for having a fixed bin scenario, you need to extend the material at a storage type level. So this is the way you specify a fixed bin. Next we have the maximum bin quantity and the minimum bin quantity. So the maximum bin quantity is the quantity that you would allow in a particular bin. So typically it could be the same quantity as the palletization data, means this quantity is the max quantity that you would be allowing in a particular bin. If you allow 2 pallets in a particular bin, then this quantity could be 20, and so on. And the minimum quantity is, of course, it is going to trigger the replenishment. So we have to maintain the minimum quantity the way you want. If you say specify 1, and if the stock goes beyond or below this quantity, then it is going to trigger a replenishment transfer order. So if this is a fixed bin scenario and you have maintained a minimum bin quantity, then if the quantity falls below 1, then the system would automatically, or depending on how you have set up, would consider this bin for a replenishment, and there will be transfer order that will be created to fill up this bin. Picking area, like these storage sections group together the similar bins for put away, the picking area groups together bins for picking process. Control quantity. Control quantity field is to be used whenever you are using a strategy for picking called large and small quantities. So I will explain this particular strategy and the use of control quantity with an example. At this time, let us understand I am using a control quantity 9. Now I will show you with an example how this influences your picking. Let us assume that we have a storage type CP1 and a storage type HR1 in our warehouse. CP1 is where we stock partial quantities. So if there is an order which is lesser than 10 pieces, so we need not give a full pallet to the customer. We can pick from partial quantities, or we need to break a pallet to pick the partial quantities. So whenever there is an order of 10 quantities, then we would want the complete pallet to be picked up, because it is cumbersome to break a pallet and put the partial quantities elsewhere. So in order to achieve this, we use a strategy called large and small quantities, which is denoted as M. So in this case, I have a storage type CP1 and a storage type HR1 which stocks full pallets only, and I have used a control quantity 9. So whenever there is a order of say 5 quantities or 8 quantities or 9 quantities, what the system is going to do, it is going to first look at the strategy, look at the storage indicator, and then look at the storage type that it finds first. So it is CP1. So in CP1 we have a control quantity 9, and if the order quantity is 9 or less than 9, it can pick the stock from CP1 because it is a partial quantity. Now let's say if you have an order of more than 9, so for example 10 or 11 or 12 or whatever. So in this case, what you will do is you are going to use a control quantity or the control large and small quantity indicator M for CP1, and the system is going to check what is the control quantity. If it is 9 and the order quantity is greater than 9, then it is not going to pick from CP1, but it is directly going to go to HR1 and fulfill the full pallets from HR1. So once it has picked the full pallet quantity from HR1, the remaining quantity, to pick it from CP1, you can again give a CP1 over here. So if there is an order of 12 numbers, it is going to look in CP1, it is going to check the control quantity. If it is 9 and the order is 12, then it is not going to pick from CP1, but rather go to HR1 and pick a full pallet. The full pallet is 10, and then we have an order for 12, so 2 remaining. So now it will come to CP1 again and pick the remaining leftover CP1 from CP1. So this is how we use the control quantity indicator. So again, back to the material master data, we have a field called replenishment quantity. So this is the quantity that would be picked up to replenish the fixed bin. So we can give this quantity as 10 because we would want the system to replenish the quantity which the bin can accommodate. So this is the replenishment quantity. Then we have a rounding quantity. So for example, this quantity would be used to round off the order that are coming up. So for example, if you have an order for 10.45, due to the conversion of the quantity specified in the delivery, then you can specify a rounding quantity over here which would round it off to the next higher digit, so that you can able to pick the material based on the pallets. So these are the important fields that you should be aware of whenever we are going to create the material master for a warehouse. So with the knowledge of these fields, we are able to specify what kind of strategies we can use, or what kind of controls can be set up in a warehouse, and likewise we can design the warehouse as per the requirement of the client.